Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We are doing the Auric programming journey, and we're on number 7, which is the body processes or the stimulation of the body's processes. And so, in a way, this one's can be very general and it can be very specific. Stimulating the body's processes. A lot of times when we're having health issues or even feeling a little bit of the blahs emotionally or mentally might not be up to snuff. It's sluggish, but body processes or systems in the body aren't just functioning like they should. So when we're treating things with just regular essential oils, things like cinnamon can stimulate body's processes. Peppermint can have that effect. In the case of trauma, arnica does something in that nature. And in the herbal world, it's a lot of times how people use cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper, cinnamon, peppermint, arnica, especially again in times of trauma, it just jumpstarts all the body's processes. So we look at things sometimes as just being a symptom that we need to treat. But if the body is not functioning properly, then systems aren't functioning properly. And eventually there's going to be a manifestation of symptoms. So this is important for obviously physical healing, somewhat for emotional healing, but even for mental healing. When the body's processes are sluggish, the mind is sluggish. And different systems of the body contribute to our brain function, our mental function, our cognitive abilities, and even when we try to connect emotionally or heal or have a spiritual experience or meditation or prayer work, this is still tied to good, healthy body processes being stimulated properly. And when you use the word stimulation, it doesn't mean like getting jacked up on caffeine or something like that. It means stimulating the proper function. And so sometimes stimulating the proper function might mean that you rest more. It might mean that your body is more active. It might mean that you have more energy. It might mean that you have more regular bowel movements. It might be that you breathe more regular. It could be all kinds of things. But I would say, even in a spiritual or mystical sense, your ability to perceive, but more importantly, your ability to realize, like basically to break out of repetitive mental patterns is tied to body processes, right? And so, we think of repetitive thinking of as being like something that just arises and it comes up and it's like, oh, why can't I let go of that thought? When really what's happening is your body is not functioning quite like it should. And the byproduct of that is your mind only works so well. And when the higher mental faculties aren't stimulated, you're left to your lower mental faculties, which is a lot of repetitive thinking. So in a way, we think about it as a symptom of something that we need to let go of, and then we'll just be fine. When really it's a condition that generates that repetitive thinking. That repetitive thinking could be you stressing about something that maybe you need to take care of. It could be you grinding on yourself about something or grinding on another person. You know, it would even be tied to that inner voice that, you know, I used to tell my family, like, you know how people will grind on you a little bit or say some negative things. And I was like, is that all you got? I can grind on myself way better than that. Like, I can be way more critical of myself, you know, and kind of funny now, but at the time it was a little bit sad. It was just my body was having issues, and so it manifested as repetitive thinking and grinding on myself and, grinding on the things going on around me and how things weren't working and, you know, fixation on things that were negative. And if you look at what's going on in the world right now, it's a lot of change. There's a lot of things that are in flux, and it's a little bit crazy in a lot of areas. And the better that our body is working, the better that our emotions and mind are working, the more that we'll be able to handle ourselves well, so that being the goal. So this idea of just stimulating body processes isn't just like a little afterthought for healing. It can be a big driving force in your body, in your mind, how you adapt to the environment, and how you have spiritual experiences, especially those related to realization, having a deep inner, like, epiphany, you could say, right? And so with that, there's this blend that we use for this called Mithridate. And Mithridate is actually a very old formula. It's actually not quite 2,000 years old, but it's in the ballpark. And in the old days, they said that Mithridate was an antidote for poison. But the poison being generated by the body that wasn't working, or a basic chakra that wasn't functioning properly, or grounded in the world, or being practical, or being able to do the things that we need to do to thrive and survive in the world. And so tonight we're going to work the Auric program to stimulate the body's processes. But this blend also stands on its own for something that you could use to stimulate processes in any number of body organs, or just the whole body in general. Even if you weren't doing the 4 quadrants, you could sit and just inhale it into areas of your body, or just inhale it and get it into your lungs, and it would have some sort of benefit. It would have a very deep effect, and I find it to have a very profound effect. So with that, let's pull out oil number 7 for the body processes, and that's Mithridate. And with that, we're going to do the standard approach first, which is something that you can do daily. It's also something that you could do as a stack, and add on to other Auric programs. So you're inhaling, your awareness is on the left side of your body, the whole left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, ribs, all the way down the outer leg to the left outer ankle. Yeah, you and me both, because that's all it is. And now move your awareness to the front side of your body. Inhale this blend. This blend has almost 25 different oils in it. The face, neck, chest, abdomen, all the way down to the tops of your feet. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then the right side of your body, the whole right side. Right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, your ribs, all the way down the outer leg to the right outer ankle. And then the back side of the body, the whole back side, the back of the head and neck, the whole back, the hips, down the backs of the legs to your heels. And then pause and be still. How did that feel? Yeah. So, I find it confusing sometimes, just for a moment, because the word stimulation is used like, oh, this is stimulating to the body's processes. But like if the body is needing more rest or repair or healing, to go into repair mode or the mode to digest, which is tied to rest and repair, it's stimulating the processes in the body that needs to happen. And so sometimes it's stimulating relaxation or it's stimulating, rest and repair and digest and so you're using something where it's like, oh, this is stimulating to the body's processes. Next thing you know, you're kind of getting sleepy and cinnamon has that effect on me sometimes it's very like invigorating. I feel like I can conquer the world, and then the next time I inhale it, like, you think of it being super stimulating and oh man, it would almost put me to sleep. And so it's like I said before, it's not just like drinking a bunch of caffeine or um you know, drinking a Red Bull or something like that. It's about stimulating proper function of the body. And like for this process, I like to do the Auric program, the 4 quadrants, and then I like to take a Thyme linalool bath. And the thing with the Thyme linalool, it's very gentle, but it's also kind of fortifying to the body. And so the combination of stimulating the body's processes and then using some Thyme linalool in a bath, like I get out and I feel good. Like even though I might go, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep, but like the body feels good, the body feels strong. Like I feel like I can get up and do something where, there's just those times where stress and just wear and tear, you just don't feel like you have the juice in your legs anymore, or at least that day or that week. And so this is good to use by itself or in a combination. And right now we're going to go and do the advanced approach. So you're still working the same oil. Your awareness is on the left side of the body, left side of the face, neck, shoulder, all the way down to the left outer ankle. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then you're on the back side of the body, the back of the head and neck, all the way down to the heels, the whole backside. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then the right side of your body, the whole right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, all the way down to the right outer ankle. And then the front side of your body, the whole front side, your face and throat, chest, abdomen, all the way down the pelvis, the fronts of the legs to the tops of your feet. And then just be still. Just be still. Now let's do your knees. Either do your whole knee, the front, the sides, and the back, or just your back knee. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the knee. And then the ankles. Your awareness is on the ankles. Your awareness is on your ankles. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then the soles of your feet. Your awareness is on the soles of your feet. And just pause and be still. Hey, let's do the quadrants again. Your awareness is on the left side of your body, left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, the ribs, the hip, all the way down to the left outer ankle. The front side of the body, the face and throat, the chest, the abdomen, front of the pelvis, down the legs to the tops of your feet. The right side of the body, right side of the face and neck, the right shoulder, all the way down the side to the right outer ankle. On the back side of your body, back of your head and neck, your whole back, your hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. Just pause and be still. And let's do the last little piece. Your awareness is on the brain. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the brain. And in your spine, your awareness is on your spine. Mm. Your awareness is on your brain and spine both at the same time. And then the brain and soles of your feet, both at the same time. Your awareness is on the brain and the soles of your feet. And as you inhale, your awareness is up above your ankles. And as you exhale, move your awareness down into the earth. And then just pause and be still. Notice how you feel your body, your emotions, your thoughts. Keep in mind, you're not always going to feel the same. Sometimes you might feel a little stronger, a little more energized. Sometimes you might feel like it's nappy nap time. You know, it's not always going to be the same because your body's in different places. It's in a different state. And so you're trying to stimulate proper function depending on where you're at. And the great thing is you don't have to evaluate and figure out what it is. You just start stimulating the body processes. So let's go ahead and have shares and questions. You can unmute yourself or type it. Go ahead and fire away. We'll do that for just a little bit, and then we'll go to the normal Q&A.
Yes, so art programming specific right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Priya.
Hey, hey, Priya.
Totally unexpected. It
Right, I know, huh?
I did not expect this at all. Usually I would read the email or just the name of the oil and I'd have some idea where
Right,
this is going to go. This
right.
practice for today, I had no expectation.
Yeah.
And I felt as quiet as I usually do after having a sitka bath.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boy, that's a good one for you to do, Sitka bath.
And it
Yeah.
was as quietening as I feel after the bath, but it somewhat on a very deeper level.
Yeah, yeah. Because like, we're going to be talking about this in the next month or so, but the the body's processes play a role in how we feel emotionally, how we feel mentally, how our brain works, and we think like, oh, I'm having a hard time thinking, or my mind's not clear, or I'm thinking weird thoughts or whatever. And, we think of it as just being like, say, a brain issue or a mental issue, when sometimes it's your physiology is just off. And if your physiology is off, then it makes how the brain function, makes it go off. And so, the more that you stimulate the proper processes, your body starts working better. So it means glands are working better, your nervous system's working better, your immune system's, functioning more appropriately. And all of a sudden you notice like emotionally I feel a little bit better, and mentally I'm thinking clearer. And if you think of like those times where we're in difficult situations where the emotions get stirred up, or our thoughts go a little wonky or something, a lot of times what has happened is because of the situations, or because of an event, or because of, some people at work, or, whatever it is, it's thrown our body into chaos. And, we think of it as there's the body, there's the emotions, and there's the mind, when really they're all just a big piece of the same thing. And there's just like different kinds of like a spectrum of sorts, but they're all intertwined, they're all connected. And so, you know, how many times have we done like a process for the nervous system and you go, my mind is quiet, when we think that it's like maybe just a mental struggle, mental issue. And so like I'm with you on this, like, you stimulate the body's processes and there's just this like deep peace and deep stillness, and just like for me, like sometimes it's like it just has the sense of like I can do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like when the body's like kind of feeling better, like I can do this. And when it's not, I just feel like I just don't have the juice in my legs to do whatever, is thrown at me tomorrow or tonight, or, whatever that might be in that interaction. And it's it's the combination of everything. It's not just a thing. And I think in the West, we get so stuck in symptom oriented approaches, which is still okay. Like, it's still good to think about, like, hey, this hurts, that hurts. I need to take care of it. This isn't functioning right. I need to take care of it. I'm starting to get the sniffles. I got to take care of it. Right. But a lot of times there's like the state of the body or the function of the body is off somehow. And we just need to get that jump started again, and the body will start to regulate itself.
I feel great. Thank you. My body feels relaxed
Good.
and my breath has also deepened.
Your what has? Your
My
breath. Oh, tremendous. Yeah, tremendous.
great
And
practice.
that's the other thing is like, I was kind of saying this before, but as much as we do this process, it's not always going to be the same because our body will need different things at different times. So there's times where I've done this and I was like, boy, I feel like I just drank 3 cups of coffee. There's times where I do this and I'm like, boy, I need a nap, or I need to go lay down and rest, or like you said, my digestion is working better, or I'm breathing better, or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's a
And
it's a very interesting blend, and it's a very interesting process.
and lastly, I feel like even though I'm calm and relaxed, I
Hmm.
am a bit more alert also at the
Right,
same time.
right. Yeah,
So, great practice. Thank you so much.
yeah, yeah. Good for you. I'm glad you're feeling good.
And then we have share in chat as well. And so guys, I'll share this, but if you want to raise your hand and we'll get into the regular Q&A after the chat shares. So someone said that stimulated me into a deep rejuvenation state.
Yeah,
I was
beautiful.
hanging on the bottle with both hands.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. So like I have a funny thing to share about this one. Um, I have poured myself a little bottle many, many, many times, but a lot of times I'll be using it, and I'll like fall asleep or I'll, whatever. Like I'll kind of go into a state of, like you said, holding on the bottle with both hands. I lose the bottles all the time, because I'll like I'm at the couch or I'm in the car or, I'm doing something on a plane or, something like that. And then I use it a couple of times and I was like, where did that bottle go? Because I just, I usually conk out. So,
Someone's wondering, could it be taken internally?
it could. I mean, I don't know that I would. Like, it's probably best just to inhale or to do as a body tonic. I don't know that there's any big benefit of taking it internally, but topically in a body tonic or inhalation is really by far the best way to do it. Yeah.
Great shares, guys. So glad you guys could join us. Next week is week 8, and that is going to be cardio support.
Cardiovascular system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cardiovascular. We're in the C's, as I
Yeah.
tell Greg.
Yeah. Number 8.
Very exciting.
This has been fun. I'm really liking doing these Auric programs, the journey of it all. So,
Yeah. All right, so join us next week, and that ends our programming. And go ahead, Denise, and then Wally.
hey, Denise.
Hi. Well, just to say it was great.
Oh,
Thank you
good.
so much. All right.
Good,
But
good.
I'm gonna ask about a friend that's really struggling. All right.
Okay.
She's I think she's 78 now.
Okay.
She's down to bone on her hip. She is due to have a
Yeah.
hip replacement in March. She cannot
Yeah.
walk without the cane.
Yeah.
She got a puppy kind of I think because her heart was really needing that, but it's a Boston Terrier and it's hard for her to, you know, get the dog out and, move around. But she's at least the hip's gonna, but a tree came down in the backyard and it took out part of the fence with this snow and ice we had. So she says, I just can't take anymore. And, Greg, she had a long kind of cold flu, something deep in that she just had horrible digestive. I didn't know her at that point, but she
Right.
went through it a long, long time. But she just came out of that and went into all this. What could I get her to kind of, get her a little bit more calm and a little more maybe ready to get her more dialed in for that hip replacement? She is going to have some help, and I think she can almost transition home fairly quickly, is my understanding.
Okay. And how long has it been bone on bone?
I think it has been a while. But,
Yeah, quite a
because
while.
I watched her move, but it quickly went from that, Greg, to where she just can't walk without a cane at
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
and maybe a
It's been
walker.
there a while.
But
It's
yeah.
been there a while. So, I mean, the thing with when it's bone on bone, a lot of times, like if you have an injury, like the idea or the rule of thumb is like move it, keep it moving, keep it strong. But here, every time those bones rub together, you're generating inflammatory material.
Uh,
Like, I mean, it's basically the more she can rest, um, Sometimes it feels or seems a little counter intuitive, but the more that she can rest, you know, the better. The issue is that there's inflammation and there's really poor lymphatic movement in the area. And so what happens is that inflammatory material at some point is just localized in that hip area, but at some point, if the lymph isn't moved out of that area, it becomes systemic. Like it just
Mhm.
starts to spread all over the body. And that she's walking with a cane, I would definitely encourage her to walk with a cane. Um, you know, I know the dog was like
Yeah.
for the heart, but it's really hard on the hip. Like,
Yeah.
'cause she's going to have to be careful walking for a few weeks, and somebody's going to have to probably give her help with the dog a little bit. And so lymphatic work, a lot of times with a hip where it's bone on bone, we use joint relief just to keep blood moving, reduce the spasms, get some lymph moving. Um, in the old days, like going back in like the 1800s and stuff, bone on bone hips were a lot actually more common because for one, they didn't diagnose dysplasia, which is like just a weird sized, like the head of the femur, your thigh bone fitting in there. They didn't really diagnose it. They didn't have the ability to. And so uh, there was that issue, but it was also the riding horses, being thrown from the horse, riding, a stagecoach or something being bounced around all the time. And so there was a lot more cases of like bone on bone and of the hip. And, it can cause you to be much more susceptible to getting sick and having infectious conditions like the flus and colds and things like that. And so she's got something close coming where she's having the hip replacement, and that will bring her a lot of relief. But until then, joint relief could be good just because it's kind of a pain reliever, gets blood to the area, reduces spasms, generates some lymphatic movement. But the reason why I was talking about the 1800s, and they didn't have medications and they didn't have a surgery for this. Like a lot of times people would just end up being bedridden with
Oh,
this. But one of the things that they would use is there's an herb rather than essential oil. There's an herb called blue flag, and we have it on the site.
you do.
And yeah, and it's not a spadgery or anything. It's just a straightforward herb. And the thing with blue flag is it's one of the best things for stimulating like lymphatic movement or lymphatic circulation. The idea in the old writings they would say like if you take blue flag, there tends to be spontaneous lymphatic movement where when you're dealing with something bone on bone, the lymph gets really stagnant in that area, and so it keeps making the lymph move in that area. And it's not going to be a magic bullet, but it will probably make her a lot more comfortable.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I would say, it depends on how much you're wanting to do or how much she's willing to do or whatever. But anything to help sleep, like with the hip being that it is, every time she lays down, she's probably in more pain when she lays down than when she's up and about because she doesn't have the distraction of doing everything. And then, you lay down and you're like, okay, now I'm being aware of my body and oh my God, my hip hurts, you know, and the quality of sleep is probably has gone down. And, it's very common for people with a condition like this or an injury that when they lay down, they almost develop a phobia because for one, they don't feel better when they lay down to rest, because they're more aware of the pain, and then they don't sleep very well. So then they're going to be frustrated that they're not sleeping. And so what happens over a period of time, they develop a phobia. And
Okay.
so anything that you can do, like, in the oils that you have handy, spikenard, marjoram, lavender, vetiver, anything that you can get her to inhale that could calm the body, calm the system, especially at night, so that she can get some rest.
Um, on the joint relief, would that be a body tonic or is that a straight up oil?
You
How
could
would-
do a body tonic, but if I had my first choice, it would be an ointment form. And the
Oh,
reason to do it in an ointment is that when you put it in, like with that, I think it's in like a herbal extract of sesame with like a licorice root, which has like a little bit of a steroid effect. Um, the sesame oil or the massage oil or whatever it is will hold more of the essential oil in that specific area rather than just scattering it through the body. And that it's almost like doing a time released treatment in a particular area when it's in like a base of an oil, where a body tonic, it hits the body and kind of goes everywhere. It goes deep, but it hits the bloodstream and it starts going other places. And so I would treat it with an ointment.
that's
The
great.
the
I
other
can tell
thing
you.
that you might want to think about that might be helpful for her is galbanum will help reduce the pain,
Okay.
just like a few drops internally, a few drops on the wrist. And Sylvester pine will elevate cortisone levels in her body. Like it doesn't contain cortisone, but it stimulates the body's production of cortisone, which will act as an internal anti-inflammatory or have a bit of a steroidal effect. And again, it's not going to be a magic bullet, but it can make life a lot more bearable until the time of the surgery. And then when the surgery happens, after the wound starts to close, putting things on there that are anti-inflammatory and helichrysum on the scar, things like that will cut down the amount of physical therapy that you'll need.
This is great.
Yeah.
On the Sylvester pine,
Mhm.
how would she take that?
Just 2 or 3 drops on the wrist. Like with her being in the place that she's at, I'd probably do 4 or 5 on the wrist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do know that, well, at least when I saw her around Christmas time, she was saying that whatever magnesium she's really taking because she's
Mhm.
realized she's at bone and bone. This is still newer revelation on some of this stuff. She said
Mhm.
it was really helping her sleep. I don't know
Oh,
where she's
good.
at really per
Yeah.
se today, but
Yeah.
I think she's fried. She says, I can't take much
Yeah.
more for when she
Yeah.
wrote to me today. So I knew that I was going to try to ask.
By the time they're starting to have to like walk with a cane or not do as much activity, there's usually a lot of pain, like a lot of pain, a lot of inflammation. And, any time that the body is in pain or like here a joint's compromised like that, I mean, part of why sleep is also hard is it throws the body into a fight flight response. It's the pain is trying to get like the attention of like, hey, we have a problem here. And the problem's already causing issues, but the pain makes it worse. And so, yeah.
I thank you. I'll give her a call this evening and go over some of
Okay.
it with her. And I'm
Sure,
hoping
sure.
it gives her some hope and, start building her up a little bit for this surgery, and
How
coming.
far away is the surgery? Do you know?
I kind of think it's mid-March because even when she told
Okay,
me in
so like a
December,
month. Yeah, like
yeah,
a
I'd
month.
say about a month. I mean, she's
Okay.
getting close and she's got to figure out that dog and who's coming
Right.
in. And yeah, and
So,
he was hoping to move Greg on top of this
yeah.
over to, and I'm like, are you serious?
So this
She's
is the other thing that I would say is, depending on if they go through the front or the side or the back, like the front, they'll still have the most mobility. But, different surgeons do different things, and some of the devices last longer depending on like how they do it. And, but I would tell her over this next month, spend time raising everything up so she doesn't have to bend over for it. So
Oh,
that for that 3 or 4 weeks of her, post surgery, that she's not having to bend a lot, so it makes it easy that she can just grab things, and those long grabbers, you know,
Yeah.
scatter them through the house. Like just so like, maybe you can't reach a cup or something out of the cabinet, but you got the grabber, because she's not going to have the mobility for a little while. And that galvanum is going to be really helpful post surgery because usually the second week is harder than the first week.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, you know how like when you go to like Lowe's or like one of the hardware stores like Home Depot or something like that, they have those little aprons that like guys can put like nails and staple gun and like all those things. Tell her to get one of those and keep her phone, a tablet, a pen, her meds, like, have the things that are necessities like on her waist so that she doesn't have to get up and move all the time. It's only for a few weeks, but it will make life a lot more comfortable.
Oh, this is great. No, I'm taking notes like crazy. So
Yeah.
no, thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome.
You really dialed her in well. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Lolly, then Priya.
Hey, Lolly.
hey. So that was an amazing practice. Thank you. And
Oh,
the
good.
weekend was so good. Like the combining the classes
Yeah,
together
yeah.
and getting a different perspective and different experiences.
Kind of fun
So
too, yeah. It's like kind of fun
yes,
playing with.
yeah.
Yeah.
And these two, I think these two classes, I think since I took the chakra and the colors, I really wanted to actually see how they work together.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fun. We'll probably do that class again, maybe just as a 1 day at some point, maybe in a couple of
mhm,
months.
yeah,
But I really am digging the mashups,
yeah,
because a lot of times these classes it were one big class that I had to go, okay, I have to break this up in pieces. It's too much for a weekend. And
mhm,
so I get to kind of revisit some of this stuff like in its like truer form, at least on my end.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
No, that's
chakras and the colors were always supposed to be going together, but it was just too much for
and
for
yeah,
one weekend. Yeah.
yeah. And it's good to really break it down the first time and then really get the better
Yeah.
understanding
Because you
once you
you
have,
really get the
yeah,
piece. Like, you know what I
mhm,
mean? Like sometimes when there's too much, it's like, and you kind of get little pieces of something, but
yeah,
to really digest each piece, kind of get to know it and see what it does, and then put them together. It's pretty nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good.
And then one of the things I was wondering about, you just kind of talked about, which is the blue flag, because it showed
Uh-huh.
up in the email, and I was like, okay, what is that? So thank you, because I wasn't sure really if it was
Oh,
an
did we put it? Yeah, it
you
was in
put it
the thing for
um
arthritis. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I looked at it and I couldn't really, I didn't know if it was an herb or if it was a blend. So now I
Yeah,
understand.
no, it's an herb. It's
Yeah.
trying to remember, is that the one that's the iris?
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
iris.
it's it's a type of iris.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
it's a very, very old school herb.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say its heyday was probably like the late 1800s to like 1920 or 30.
Mm-hmm.
And then, pharmaceuticals kind of came in and, the herbs that were like hot and heavy back in the day, they just kind of faded away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started using this like back when I was going through before my knee surgery. So like, I was like 20, 21 or something. And I was fighting really chronic inflammation in the knee area. And I just couldn't find any relief. And I really didn't know about like the lymphatic system the way we talk about it now. But I found when I took that, I still needed to have surgeries, but it made life a lot more bearable. I didn't have the bone on bone issue, but I had a tendon and sheath that were just super inflamed, and like the knees were just always like the level of lymphatic stagnation was just off the charts. And so it made life like bearable. It made life way more bearable. And I'd say Samantha uses it like
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
You know, before I started making the tincture, we'd buy these bottles of the herb where, I mean, I think there were 180 capsules. We'd buy like 3 or 4 of them at a time. And like within a few months, we were buying them again. Like, you know,
Oh,
it's just like a kind of a staple that, like,
and
if you're doing lymphatic work, I always kind of follow it with blue flag. Yeah.
oh wow, okay. So then, yeah, because even for myself, I've been working on different things, but here's what I'm wondering about. So
Hmm.
basically, so you take it internally because obviously it's a tincture, so it has some
Hmm.
alcohol in it. Okay. Now, we also talk about, I mean, last week we even talked about the lymphatic, and you guys send the lymphatic blend. And then there's the
Hmm.
lymphatic bliss. And so what I'm wondering about is where did this one, I mean, the other ones we can do inhalations, and this one is
This
more.
this would be a little bit more like the lymphatic bliss. So the lymphatic bliss, the reason why I call it bliss is like it stimulates like higher cognitive functions because it's increasing circulation of the lymphatic system, and it's throwing off like any time that the lymphatic system is circulating properly or having more spontaneous movement, you're throwing off elementals or lower vibrational energy. The lymphatic blend is about detoxing a particular area and clearing lymph nodes, and you know there's a little bit of a circulatory component, but really when you start to get into the idea of the circulation can be a thing unto itself, because the thing with circulation, it's not just about um like stimulating the movement. You also have to like thin down the viscosity of the lymph itself. Like the lymph, like sometimes it's like trying to move molasses through the lymph vessels. And so even though the lymph vessels might be like good to go and like, okay, come on, I can circulate this. It's like trying to circulate motor oil versus, you know, water.
Mhm.
It's it has a bit of a thinning effect on the viscosity of the lymph itself.
So basically it's a good, like, good to take it as maintenance
It's good to take
in
it
a way.
as
Yeah.
maintenance, and you know, I'd say like if you're, you know, like talking about the like going back to the situation before where she has a hip, you know, the joint relief is somewhat similar, but has a little bit more of stimulating blood movement and reducing spasms and things like that. And so that's like a little bit more specific for a joint, where the lymphatic blend is just detoxing wherever you put it. Like, so basically, like wherever something is like kind of dull, achiness, dull, achy pain, um, that is poor lymph. Like that area is
Mhm.
toxic. And so the lymphatic blend helps to detox the tissues and the lymph nodes in the area, jumpstart the lymph nodes, get all that stuff moving. And if the lymph isn't too thick, it will just start circulating. Excuse me. But if there's like a lot of detox or a lot of like inflammatory material that the body's processing, you still have to keep jump starting the movement of the lymph.
So basically it'll be good for things that the body is either not detoxing well. So even if like the liver is not functioning great and it's some
I,
help.
I would say just about like any sort of soft tissue issue, like organs not functioning quite like they should, digestive issues. I mean, one of the big issues in the digestive tract is inflammation and
Mhm.
digestive toxicity in the gut. And so anytime that you have something going on. I would say the lymphatic system is one of the most easily compromised systems in the body. Yeah.
And then a few weeks ago, or a while ago, we also talked about cancer, and like somebody who has like breast cancer and all the lymph
Sure.
nodes, you know, on the area. So that would also be.
Yeah, like with like breast cancer or something like that, I would use it probably more after the removal of the stuff.
Yeah.
Boy, excuse me, sorry, but you got cold. But with like breast cancer, for example, I would treat that with yarrow for a while. Because you're dealing with inflammation and you're wanting to just kind of keep reducing the size. You know, anytime like most breast cancers are inflammatory in nature, so they'll puff up and they'll condense and they'll puff up and they'll condense. And you want to kind of keep it in a condensed state as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do that first, and then at some point you can kind of make a transition. And
Yeah, I would treat it lymphatically after the fact.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Like
you.
if you wanted to augment the yarrow, um, you could use Sylvester pine, but like sometimes I like to use uh either thuja or arborvitae to make the lymph nodes like more aggressive, you know, for like fighting off the cancer. And then I like to use either the Java turmeric internally and the shiso body tonic topically.
Yeah.
Like those, and then if you're going to throw another thing in the mix, maitake mushrooms, you know.
Okay.
Well, I say that maitake sometimes, and if it's like very inflammatory, chaga, the chaga mushroom.
Okay, thank you. That just because you mentioned the lymph nodes, so okay.
Yeah.
And then okay, so then a few other things. Thank you. We talked last week or a couple of weeks ago about mold, potential mold in an area, and we talked about the fungal support. And you also mentioned that there's the mold support, and I'm wondering, would you take internally if something is going on? And I'm
You
just
could do the mold support internally. I mean, you could do the fungal support internally too. The fungal support that's actually I'm duplicating something that was studied like back in the 60s. And it was one of the very first things that was scientifically evaluated as far as, you know, how efficient it was to treat like airborne molds or more molds that are in like the air vents and things like that. And that blend was looked at and they found it to be like the most effective way to treat, you know, molds and funguses that are airborne. The mold
yeah.
support was made a little bit more for treating it in a person. But like, for example, like if you were dealing with candida or something like that, you could use tea tree, or you could
Yeah.
use a fungal support internally, and that's how I would treat it. I mean, it's geranium pomarosa, um, and then it's savory and tea tree.
Yeah.
And you know, savory, like savory, cinnamon will do this too, but like savory and cinnamon will kind of treat the candida in the body like there's a new sheriff in town and only one of us can stay.
Yeah.
You know, like they mean business. Where the other ones, they're effective, but they're not quite as aggressive and a bit more gentle.
And then the mold support, what's in the mold support?
Oh, I'd have to look it up. You're gonna have to give me a minute on this one. I made this a real long time ago.
also, would you treat it even if you're not sure if there's mold and you just suspect
It's
maybe
good to
just
do from time to time. I
okay, just to
mean, you don't
clean
always
the
have to
system.
be, you know, like you use something like cinnamon or savory. It's
Yeah.
boosting the immune system. It doesn't have to be just like I'm going after mold or I'm going
Oh
after
yeah.
a fungus.
Yeah, and
It's
I do
a good
cinnamon
way
often.
to, yeah, a good way to clean things up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, give me a sec here.
Mm-hmm.
I have about 6 or 7 different recipe books, so I have to. So mold support is heavy on the tea tree, but then it's ginger, marjoram, cedar, and lavender.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know anything.
Much gentler than the fungal support.
Okay.
Just in the thing that makes the fungal support so like is the savory. Like
Yeah.
savory is, if you said, okay, I'm gonna take a handful of oils and they're gonna be the Marines that hit the beach,
Mm-hmm.
cinnamon, savory, oregano, you know, clove,
Mm-hmm.
the hardcore, like some of the really hot times.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, like anything infectious, virus, bacteria, fungal, mold, it,
Mm-hmm.
it just goes at those things.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So then you can kind of do either or internally, basically. Like
yeah,
you can do, okay.
I wouldn't do fungal support like super long term. Like,
Yeah,
six,
because,
60 days is probably okay, but I'd probably stick more to 30. But if
mm-hmm.
you're really having a bad bout of like candida or something, I would still probably rotate it with like cinnamon or there's another blend that, when we talk about these things, we don't really talk about it very often, but it's also for like flus and things like this, but it would still be in the vein of um, candida and fungal issues and molds. And the blend, it's a very old blend. It's called Liberation, and
Oh yeah.
it's cinnamon, savory, clove, and some lemon. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
a really just basic, but I mean, it's like a bunch of big hitters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so not meant to be taken for long periods of time. It's like, okay, I think I'm getting sick. Okay, I'm sick. I think I might have candida. I think, whatever's going on. Um, you know, there is a lot of antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal aspects to that blend. And psychologically, it has an impact on being able to step out of the box. Like, I can take a punch. You know how, like, when you start to do
Mm-hmm.
something new, you're like,
Yeah.
you don't know. This is just like, okay, here I am. What are we gonna do? Like, it's there's this saying in old school medical aromatherapy that cinnamon doesn't know depression. Like, it just doesn't know what it is. Like, because it's so it stimulates the body's processes, it makes you outgoing, it's just so invigorating that it's almost kind of hard to be. I mean, you still could be depressed, but it would be hard to
Mm-hmm.
do it, you
Yeah.
know. And so all of those oils kind of have that component to it, you know.
Okay. So then if you're not sure what is going on, like I have a lot of different things. So if it's skin, if it's body, if it's a bunch of different things, I still need to check actually for mold. I cleaned some things. I have the blend for, the fungal support, but I'm wondering if I
Yeah.
should maybe just to
And
clean
so
the,
you could take that internally, but I would say if the concern is that it might be in the house, even if you don't want to do like diffusing the fungal support, just for like price and something, use like eucalyptus globulus, use tea tree, use something like that to where you can diffuse it all the time so you can break it down if it's in the vents or if it's in the walls or something like that while you're taking something internally so that you're cleaning this up, but you're not still bathing in the thing that caused the problem in the first place.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
right now I'm diffusing it around, and I still need to check. But then, so internally for me, what do you think would be, from all of these blends and options, what do you think would be the best?
I kind of like the liberation for you. That's kind of why I mentioned it.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? It's how I said fungal support's like the tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
Fungal support would be a little bit afraid of liberation if they met in an alley. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
okay.
liberation would be like, come on, let's do this.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're gonna do it, you might
Um,
as well do it.
okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. And then it does have it has savory and clove and all those like that are very hot.
Has
Okay.
cinnamon,
Yeah.
savory, clove,
Yeah.
and then
And
lemon.
lemon.
Yeah.
Okay. So then taking it like a couple of drops once a day?
Yeah, 2 or 3 drops once a day, and if your system doesn't get too hot or can handle it, I'd even do it twice a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then again, not taking it for too long, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually with like, say, if you're dealing with an infectious condition like the flu or something like that, you would probably take it a week to 2 weeks. Something
Okay.
like this, 30 days, that's pretty good. But I wouldn't go taking it for like 3 months or 4 months. You could take a break, do it again. But if your body is being impacted like either by candida or an external mold or fungal issue, within 30 days, if you're not feeling better, it probably is not mold or candida.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like it's going to produce a result kind of fast.
Okay.
Like if it starts making you feel better, then something's up. It's
And
one
if
of those
it's
things where you start treating, and that's kind of almost like an evaluation or a diagnosis unto itself. And then
okay.
if you don't really respond, then something else is going on.
Okay. And then so and then if I'm taking lemon by itself, it's fine. Like, or can I
Yeah,
like
oh no,
it's
you can
okay.
go
I mean,
crazy
it's
with lemon.
lemon. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
you can go
But
crazy with lemon.
okay. But then
Yeah.
if I'm
Lemon you
taking
could take for the
this,
rest of your life too, by the way.
yeah. But if I'm taking this blend, then there's no need for me to take like cinnamon on its own.
No.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
cinnamon I do take every now and then because there's something about it that just makes yeah.
There was a French doctor that said, this is many years ago, a couple of decades ago, but he said, if the world knew the therapeutic properties of cinnamon, you wouldn't be able to get it because it's so amazing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just does so many things, and it has such like a healing effect. It stimulates the body's processes, and it's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It stimulates the proper peristalsis movement in the gut, and
Mm-hmm.
you would use it for diarrhea or dysentery, and any sort of infectious condition, and it's good for circulation. It's like it's just good for so many reasons. I don't tend to use it a whole lot by itself just because my body always runs a little hot, and not as much as I used to, but it could go there real easy. So like when I use cinnamon, I use it for like a day or two, and then I take a break just because you know like it was 6 degrees yesterday, and I walked outside to the car in just normal shirt, and I was fine. I couldn't stand out there forever, but like Samantha looked at me like I was a moron, and I was like, I'm cold. Like it's like my body's hot, you know.
So
So
yeah, I would need like 7 blankets and then I'll be fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So thank you. I'll try that and see but then even if I'm sensitive for other things, I mean, not really for heat, I'm still fine taking that blend and kind of
Yeah.
experiment and see. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about is another thing you mentioned on the weekend and now yesterday on the newsletter. It's the Herbal Antispasmodic blend, which you talked about before when we talked about TMJ. And it came up on the weekend because we talked about
Oh,
TMJ.
that's right. That's right. I forgot
Yes,
about that.
I think that was
Yeah.
So with this one, we talked about the lobelia on the weekend as well, and it's in this blend. So basically this blend is doing something that the lobelia by itself.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times for myself, like you know, when I talked about it over the week and I cracked up because I went and sat on the couch and my antispasmodic tincture and my lobelia were right next to each other on the coffee table. And I was like, boy, talk about meat and potatoes, like just boom, boom. You know, a lot of times I take lobelia by itself, but like if the body is feeling extra like tense or tight, or you know, like something's a little stiff, or you know, it doesn't you know, it's not just the jaws, it works for everywhere, you know. And like I took it last night and this morning, and I noticed that the tension in my lower legs, like the calves and the shins,
Mm-hmm.
was significantly less. And I noticed like I was kind of bouncing around a little bit, not that I was like young, but I was bouncing around like I was a little younger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's because things aren't tight and there's not stiff, and I'm not bending over, and things are kind of catching. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I have several areas where I've torn muscles pretty badly. And so like I'll move and I'll get like these weird catches in those areas. And um like when I take that, it eases them up. You know, they're structurally a problem there, but it improves function for me. And you know, the antispasmodic, it does have a little bit of cayenne.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does stimulate the body's processes, kind of like how we were just talking about with the mithridate.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not super overstimulating. Like when I take the tincture, I don't put it in water. I just do it in you know, directly on the tongue. And it's got a little tiny bite, not bad. You know, I'm used to it, but I think at first it was probably a little much.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you either put it in water or chase it with water or something. It's fine, but you know, it even has a bit of like an anti-inflammatory effect, and you know, it makes you breathe a little better. Like it just
Mm-hmm.
works for a lot of things, you know.
And yeah, and you mentioned it even to me before when with my TMJ, because I mean it's still an issue. The fact that I'm used to it doesn't mean that it's okay. It just I
Right.
learned to live with that.
But I would say like your case is a little more extreme, but probably 80 to 90% of the population has some form of TMJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, it's there and it's, you know, but I'm wondering if really taking that can be helpful for that, for the like the back
Yeah,
spasms that I
I
get
would say it
sometimes.
would be helpful. I would say it's not a magic bullet, but it's
Yeah.
definitely something that contributes. And like for me, like it's just one of the things, like when I use it, it's like this helps, but I still do some of my other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely like when things start to feel like they get out of hand, it's the tincture that I think about. Like I should probably do some of that again.
And then let's say I end up taking it, is it gonna, the fact that this one is a little bit hot and I have the other like deliberation that's kind of hot, does it?
It should be fine. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be fine.
I mean, I can start just with one tincture, one
Your
new
body
thing.
runs cold. Your body runs cold. I wouldn't
Yeah.
worry. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I can start with one blend and see how the body reacts and then start adding instead of a few
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
And then another thing we talked about last week was the Angelica for the cold hands and feet. And we talked about the tincture, and I'm wondering if like the Angelica seed, because if the Angelica seed by itself, like as an oil, would it do the same? Would it do the
Yeah,
same thing?
you could do the, instead of the tincture, you could do either the root or the seed. Yeah, sure.
So it can be either or, like it
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
matter.
sure. Sure.
And then what, like a couple of drops or?
I'd do 2 or 3 drops. Yeah, I'd probably do
Okay.
three, maybe even 4. Yeah.
Okay. Once a day.
Probably once a day is good enough. you know.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And then just one last thing again that was, I think, was it yesterday on the thing? or maybe I saw it online. We talked about the Spasmophilia on the weekend,
Uh-huh.
and I saw that there was a Spasmophilia Cola ointment on the website.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering about that. What does it do? Like, what's the purpose of?
Some energy hygiene, and it's for spasms. Like the idea of spasmophilia is it's not just for contractures or an antispasmodic, but spasmophilia is like a more advanced version of like tight muscles or a contracture or a cramp, where it's that a moderate, like small to moderate movement or stimulation causes the area to go into a spasm. And so the closest thing that we have here in the US is to say, like, oh, when a joint's injured, there's a splinting of the joint or something like that, where just a little bit of movement in the area kind of contracts. But
Mhm.
like, I have a friend that's from France, and I don't know, we were talking about something. I said spasmophilia. He goes, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah." Like he knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But here in the US we don't talk about it very much. But it's a kind of almost like a hyperreactive kind of spasm. And so it has antispasmodic properties, but it's about even like calming down those spasms when there's like movement and activity and stimulation. Stimulation can even be like emotional or stress or anything like that, and it just will throw the body in a spasm. Yeah.
And then, so two things. One, so the Gota Cola that you're adding in the ointment is to do
A venous
what?
tonic to help move blood out of the.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I remember that it's when I'm doing the vein health, it's
Yeah.
in there to move.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about spasms with a spasmophilia, like if you get spasms, on your legs, like at night, so would you still do marjoram, or would you do the spasmophilia?
I would probably do marjoram, but like you could try the spasmophilia. Um, like I would say marjoram's a good choice, black pepper's a good choice. Um, and are they cramps or are they flutters?
Well, for me right now, I all of a sudden been getting it the last
Like cramps.
couple of nights. Like, oh my God, cramps can't move the leg.
Yeah, marjoram for that. Do marjoram and take magnesium.
Yeah, and I have marjoram next to my bed. I'm
Yeah,
like, if I wake up
perfect.
and I can't.
Yeah.
And
That's a pretty good choice.
but then doing it topically, no need to do it internally, right?
Right, just topical.
Okay. And if
Yeah.
somebody that has like an ongoing thing, you would still stick to marjoram.
Yeah, marjoram's pretty good for that. I mean,
Okay.
like there's other things that are antispasmodic, but like helichrysum could be used, but I think
Yeah.
marjoram works a little better, and it's like a third the price. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like makes it like easy for, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like I can be very liberal with this and like, put a bunch of drops on, where when it's helichrysum, I go like maybe one or two drops. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Priya, then Ralph.
Hey, Priya.
Hey, I just have a couple of shares.
Sure.
In the middle of all the bittersweet that's been going on last few days, couple of really good things sort of stood out.
Yeah, you sound really good. Like, I know you're like having a little bit of a time, but you sound like you're like just your normal self, and
It's because I'm painting again. Thank you to Angel
tremendous,
Samuel. That blend, not only it smells great, but yeah, I'm back into painting, so that's great.
tremendous.
And not just that, yeah, last night I was painting, and my ongoing issue, I think few months ago in the Q&As, was that even though I was painting, there was this agitation. I had to get up every like 20 minutes or something. But last night I was painting and I was in the zone for like 2.5, 3 hours.
Oh, that's amazing. Good for
That
you.
was good. I was so happy.
Yeah.
That's
One of the
one.
best remedies for anything is to have success at something. You know what I mean? Like you struggle and you struggle and you struggle and you're like, ugh. And then when something starts to go well, it's like you can go, well, that stuff got me to where I'm at now, and look at me like perform or, produce this result or be able to do this for a while. Good for you.
Thanks very much. Secondly, yesterday, unavoidable situation. Usually, I hate going to the shopping centers, but I had to.
Mhm.
And so, very crowded, stimulating. But I went into my favorite bookstore. I got a little book, and I realized that I was reading with really good concentration. There was
Tremendous.
my, like, even though it was super busy, my body, arms and legs, yes, that's, been worked
Sure.
on, that's separate, but my concentration was so good. I was really surprised. And basil and the tincture may have been, a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah.
So,
Good for you.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome.
That's all I wanted to share today.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
And then go ahead, Ralph, then Donita.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Greg. Question on making up body tonics.
Yes.
Carrier oils for body tonics. Castor oil,
So you're talking body tonic or are you talking about ointment?
ointments.
Right. So yeah, you could use castor oil, you could use cinnamon. The thing with or cinnamon, sesame.
No, I would add cinnamon to the
Yeah, right.
castor oil. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
Been
so
doing that all
castor
day.
oil, sesame.
Yeah. Castor, the thing that's nice about castor oil is it will really hold something in the area. Like so if you're like say I want to put this oil on my knee, it will hold it in that knee area and not just let it start spreading up the leg and whatever. But the other
Mhm.
thing that's nice about castor oil is it does have a bit of a cleansing effect energetically, and it definitely stimulates lymphatic movement. The other
Okay,
one that stimulates lymphatic movement is sesame oil.
okay, all right. How about a new family favorite, DMSO?
So the thing with DMSO is because it's a solvent,
Mhm.
and it's really easy to irritate the skin when mixing oils with the DMSO.
Okay,
So what I would do is you could add oils to the area, but I would add the DMSO at a different time. Like
okay.
especially, that was an old school thing where we'd use for like inflammation or an arthritic spot or an injury spot or something like that, because it goes all the way to the bone. But I played with that many years ago with just even adding little tiny bits of the essential oil, and it would cause really bad rashes and things. Not every time, but enough to where I was like, I don't know about this. And it wasn't pure DMSO. It would be even I would add just a little tiny bit of DMSO to like some alcohol or something and make a liniment and do it. And it was a little much. And so I found that athletes use DMSO quite often.
Hmm.
And I usually just have them rotate.
Okay, all right, good. That was my question. Thanks.
So are you using because now the DMSO has gotten really a lot more refined. Are you
Hmm.
using like the old school one? Because like in the old days, you smelled like garlic and you tasted oysters in your mouth, like when you would put it on your body. But I think they've refined it quite a bit now.
This is a new bottle that I just got. Well, I just got a new bottle.
Uh-huh.
So it's not the old school. I remember
Yeah.
the old school stuff. This
'Cause
is
you know
not
where
as
we used to buy
intense
it?
as the old school, huh?
We used to buy it at the hardware store because it's like a furniture solvent.
Okay, so I used to get mine down at the veterinary supply.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think they used to use it on horses.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was I found out about it through a vet who
Yeah.
was a large animal vet, and he was using it for all of his stuff, and I had at that point
Yeah.
a knee problem, and he suggested that I put it on my knee problem, and it
Yeah.
worked great. But you're right, about the
Yeah, it's
garlic and the
it
oysters.
makes you pretty smelly.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know that there's a pharmaceutical grade version of it that they use for like inflamed bladder. Like you know, you put it on like below your belt line or something, and it will
Mhm.
help reduce that. But you know, I've never really used it for that. But that is actually even modern medicine uses it for a few things.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Donita, then Danelle.
Hey, Danita.
Hey, Greg. Okay, I've got a little. Okay, let's go with the health question first.
Sure.
You know a little bit because we talked, and you know, I've been going through so much change and everything else. My poor body is recalibrating, put it this way.
Mhm.
Um, what I noticed is, like, you know, the lymphatic system, the inflammation in the body, and
Mhm.
you know, like when I shared with you, I thought I had a boil in my left arm, you know, under
Right,
armpit, but it
right.
wasn't a boil. It was, I think it's hormonal related, and because
What did it look like?
you know, it's like a pimple, but it's under the skin, but it's really sore. It's kind of like, it was really sore. It was like kind of cooking. So, but that went away with whatever I did,
Okay,
you know, the helichrysum and stuff. But then
right.
I woke up and was healing and such. And then I woke up yesterday morning with something else, like an extra one, another one under the sec. It's so, it's just very strange because it's like, it's kind of sore and it feels it feels weird in the body, you know, and it's hormonal as well. I kind of know because of my
You having
cycle.
tenderness anywhere farther forward, like starting to move towards the breast or anything like that?
It's kind of, yes, it's a little bit all around, to be honest, like my arm even. And it didn't help that I slept on my arm, so I slept on it and now my arms are sore, you know what I mean? So my question,
And are you using like an antiperspirant or deodorant or
that's what I was about to say. You know,
yeah.
I'm a deodorant, like all natural and
I
all
would,
that stuff.
but I'd stop using them for a little while.
Oh, I stopped as soon as
Okay.
the first one kicked in. I stopped, and that's when I stopped, and I was putting whatever I was putting. Then I put helichrysum on it. You know, just didn't use anything. And then, oh yeah, coconut tea tree. But then one day I had to go into town, and I used on my left arm under armpit, and that's what happened. You know, the following morning I woke
Yeah.
up with like, I was like, uh-oh.
You probably have like some form of a low grade infection. It could be bacterial, it could be like fungal. Um,
It's not in.
so so you know, putting helichrysum on the spot is good, but you know what I would do is I would take do you have Thyme linalool?
Yes.
So I would take time linalool and take like a glass of water, you know, and put like maybe 8, 10 drops and like really stir it up and then just kind of gently bathe that area. It's like just keep pouring a little bit in your hand. It doesn't have to be a cup, but like you could put it in a bowl, but stir it up so it's evenly mixed. But the thing that is nice about time linalool is, you know, it's still a form of time, but it's very gentle. And so, you know, you're dealing with an area that's very sensitive, you know, the armpit or the genitals, or, you know, like if there's a little bit of an infection in and around the area, it's kind of hard to treat because the oils can be so strong. But time linalool, like you could, you know, bathe that area, and even though it's a sensitive under the arm area, it would be gentle enough to apply there. You know, I would still mix it in some water or something, and then, you know, just kind of pour it over it or like keep patting it on there for a little bit. But it's gentle enough to apply to that area and quite liberally Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you did good.
Liberally.
Mhm.
And then,
Yes.
but strong enough to knock out the fungus or the bacteria. It's probably a bacteria. And so like the same thing happens, like, you know, how sometimes people get little rashes or something around the genitals. Like it's gentle enough to where you can do the same concoction and just gently kind of pour over that area, and it will knock it out kind of quickly, you know.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I have been with that, I kind of started taking a lot of black cumin because I figured, but I'm also, you know that I'm
Yeah.
with inflammation and the
Taking
lymphatic.
things internally is good, but you're probably going to have to treat it topically as well.
And I do,
Yeah.
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 That's why I was like, I kind of burned because I use
Yeah.
I
So
use direct oil, so I burn my skin
the
out like.
other thing that you could use, you know, if you go online, you can find ionic sulfur. Like it's
I
like
have it at home.
okay, perfect. Bathe, like do the thyme linalool, and then a little bit later, like a couple hours later, just bathe the area with the ionic sulfur, and then wait a few hours, and then the thyme linalool again, and then the ionic sulfur, and just kind of keep going back and forth. You can, you know, if the ionic sulfur is, you know, it's water, so you could actually even add the thyme linalool to that and bathe the
Perfect.
area, but like make the sulfur kind of strong.
Perfect. I'll do that. What would you recommend me taking internally besides the black cumin? What do you mean, black cumin? I
Uh,
started taking the
for,
intestinal detox as well.
for this, I would even do a little bit of the thyme linalool internally.
2, 3 drops, 2 times a
Yeah,
day,
three or four.
2, 3 times a day.
You could do 3 or 4 drops a couple of times a day.
Okay, I can do that. All right, perfect. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
And if it doesn't start resolving like in a couple of days, like, you know, email us or something, but that should start moving it the other direction.
I've never had anything like this. That's why it's
Eh,
very strange, and I'm like,
it
what do
happens.
I?
Like it's just
And I
weird
can.
spots. You're probably a little bit more predisposed because like deodorants and antiperspirants and things a lot of times will clog the pores and not allow for that area to detox, and then it turns it into a little bit of a breeding ground for bacteria and funguses.
Like I only use it in the morning, and it's natural, and it's deodorant, and it's like very without sulfite. With it's like very little, just like one. I just very minimum,
Yeah.
and only in the mornings. So yeah, I
Just
was
go all
surprised.
natural for a while.
Uh, it's good that I don't have to go anywhere.
Liquid chlorophyll to help with
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, chlorophyll. Oh, I wondered because I have been taking chlorophyll internally.
Mhm.
Do you think that I might have kind of kicked in my body into a detox, that things are
Probably not.
coming out? No, okay,
No,
good.
I would say it's
Just whatever.
clogged. That area is clogged. Yeah.
Is that lymphatic related?
It's probably more skin related. You know, just
So,
clog pores, clog everything's.
okay, because since we moved, I haven't been taking salt baths. It took me a while to get back into
Yeah.
my scrub routine and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for this.
You're
So
so
now I have a more fun question.
okay.
All right. So I got this amazing oils. I mean, the classes have been phenomenal, and I have these amazing oils. Amen, Stabilize, and
Oh
True
yeah.
Nature. And I would love to hear a bit more about all three of them, as much as you can, like in the time. And when do you use best? When shall I use them
You
best?
can use stabilize and amen at the end of any process. You know, you can just go through and inhale it, and you know, stabilize is made to. It stimulates. It stimulates the intuitive mind, but it also stimulates the body's processes when there's been a bit of a shift. Like, so it kind of helps facilitate like a shift happening. Because sometimes when you shift, it's like, okay, I'm shifting into something good, I'm healing, but the body starts to go, it kind of freaks out and overreacts. And so it's a way to stabilize that. And so like you don't have to do it after every process, but like say after you do a deep session, you could end the session with that just to keep the body from freaking out. And then Amen keeps the momentum of the shift continuing. Like it just can, it keeps something moving even when you turn your attention away. Like it's why you say amen at the end of a prayer, is like, okay, Lord God, bless me with this, bless me with that. And, left to our own devices, as soon as we turn our attention away, that intuitional movement that moves us towards whatever we're praying for just goes away. But then you start saying amen or whom, oma whom, so be it, in the old days in the European traditions, they would say fiat, like fiat, fiat, fiat. And it just means that it's like it generates an energy that, like, even though I'm turning my attention away, this continues to manifest. This continues to go in motion, even though I turn my attention away. And so that's what we're trying to do with the healing processes. True nature is about aligning more with your true nature rather than the conditioning or the intellect or the stories or the body impulses, the instinctive responses. And so the best pattern to work with that is that half of the three brain. So sex chakra, which is the instinctive mind, the solar plexus, which is the second brain or the emotional brain, and then the brain itself. And like if you're trying to connect to something in a positive way, it helps increase the connection. If you're dealing with a problem and you're needing to problem solve, there's still a connection issue when we're not able to like problem solve that very well. We're stuck in the obstacle, or we're stuck in our head, or we're feeling frozen or whatever. And so, a lot of times with that, I'll use it right before I go to bed. And I might not even know exactly what the problem is, but I'll have some dreams and I'll wake up and I'm like, this is what I'm doing today. And like I start addressing the problem and moving forward on the problem. So it can be about a problem solver, or it could be like deepening a connection to a friend or a person, a deity, a teacher, a spiritual practice, whatever you're shooting for.
Can you simply just do the practice without actually thinking about any project or anything?
Yeah, it would have an impact. It would definitely move you in a right direction, but it would still just address whatever's kind of up in the mental body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you don't know, you just kind of just
Yeah.
do the practice
There's
without just going.
something's going to be up in the mind, and so it's still going to do something. But like you could also use it to be some very specific about something.
Perfect. And with the stabilize and amen, best to do the stabilize first and then amen.
Yeah, I mean they both would work, but my experience is the stabilize works better when it's first.
Okay, stabilize first.
Yeah.
Because like this past weekend on Sunday, I had to actually leave earlier because when we did the jaws, there was just an opening, something just shifted, and I just all the grieving kicked in, everything that all the time that
Jaws hold a lot
everything that
of stuff. Like the jaws hold a lot of stuff. Like we're gonna we're doing the class. What is it? The power of realization, where we're working body systems to improve like brain function. Like just keep making the brain work better and better. And part of what we're going to do is we're going to go through and remove like stress and thought forms and just emotional tension from the face, which makes the jaws just because so much of our expression is in our face and in the jaws. So a lot of times you know, the jaws are prone to injury. They're prone to muscle imbalances, body misalignments, you know, tension, adrenal issues. But if we're also having like old traumas and things like that, that's one of those places where those things can linger and you really don't even know about it. And, you know, you start just pulling that stuff off the face and your body just starts letting go of stuff. But it makes the jaws work better and makes your mind like really clear. Like
Well,
whenever I do that work on the face like that, like I get almost like giddy, like where I'm like in such good mood the next day. And you know, because it's not just, oh, this is the way I feel, but when people project at you, say like somebody's angry at you, they're kind of angry at your face. You know what I mean? Like when they're like, oh, this person's this person's that, it's just, you know, it just keeps hitting the face. And you know, people being judgmental or manipulating, you know, yes, they see you as a person and there's an idea and a thought, but really how they identify you is your face.
it, yeah, I mean, yeah, this particular, like I had to leave because I started, like I could feel my heart opening. There was so much
Yeah.
sadness and grief,
You
and I
start
couldn't stop crying.
letting stuff go and like
Oh, I was a
all of a
hot
sudden it's
mess.
just like, yeah. I mean, that's
Oh,
why, you know, like when we do the five senses work in different classes, you know, where we do the eyes, the nose, and that last part where we do the head. I mean, really the big portion of it is we kind of do the head, but the big portion of it is really the face. Yeah, you'll let go of so much emotional stuff. And my experience through the last couple decades is that when you when you really work the those energies in the face, it increases the person's like self-esteem. Like they feel better about themselves because you just peeled off like all these layers off the face. Yeah.
so on Sunday when I was bawling my eyes out for the rest of the evening,
Uh-huh.
literally couldn't stay for the rest, for the hips, which I
Uh-huh.
needed. Would inhaling stabilize? Would it have helped, or should I just let it
I
just?
I mean it might have, but I you know sometimes a good
uh,
cry or something like that, you're probably letting go of years of trauma and hurt feelings and stuff. And it might not even be about a person. It just might be like difficulties that were happening in life, and you know,
it
you've
was
such
everything. It
a
was just a big
yeah, you've
thing.
had
It was
such a
just
journey coming from another country into a no culture, and it, you know, even when I've seen gurus do healing, sometimes they'll go, "Okay, now go in the corner and cry." You know, you know, if you have a cry come up, some people say, "Oh, don't cry," and you know, just let it go or whatever. If you start crying, let it happen.
oh
Honestly,
yeah, no. I love crying. I love a good cry, and I feel
yeah,
better. But this was different. This was more like I could feel my heart opening up, and it was a
yeah,
lot of pain as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There was a lot of pain and a lot of grief in the
yeah,
last few months when I couldn't process. I just didn't have
yeah.
the time to process. I
Yeah.
just had to go, go, go.
I've told that story where you know, like back in my early days as a therapist, I traveled with groups of athletes, and sometimes they would be men, and sometimes they would be women. And you know, they would be competing for a week to 2 weeks at a time, and usually within about 4 or 5 days, we were having to manage the guys because they were going to get into fights and they were cranky and they were pushing each other and snapping at each other. Now, girls, like after about a week or even 10 days, there might be a little bit of tension and there might be a little bit of words, but they really got along a lot better. And it was, the thing that I really noticed that was the difference is that when one of the girls would have a bad day or have a series of, bad days or whatever, they would go off, they would have a super good cry, and then they'd come back and they'd go, okay, now let's do this. Like I shook that off. Let's do this. And I mean, it was noticeable when they would have a cry. And so, I used to tease the boys, you guys need to go off and have a good cry. It did not go over well. I almost got beat up a little bit by saying that, but it is tied to like kind of processing some things emotionally. And if you think of like even when you're in meditation and you have this beautiful realization, what happens? Tears start coming down your eyes, right? It's a shift in perception. And so, I kind of like the idea of just welcoming it, unless it's just a hysterical cry, but like when you're just having a good cry and it's just you're crying and you might not even know why, something's shifting. You're having a shift of perception.
It was intense, but
Yeah.
it was good, and I can still feel it. It's still it's still it's still
Yeah.
there. It's still not. I'm not done with it. It's still
Yeah.
unfolding.
Yeah.
Something. That's why I was curious about these two. I mean, these three oils, especially the
Try
stabilize
inhaling neroli on your jaws.
neroli. Oh,
Mhm.
I got it just now. That neroli in that class, whatever that class was,
Yeah, yeah,
it knocked my socks off.
yeah,
So I had to get it.
yeah, yeah. Do that.
Neroli on my jaws. Perfect. I wanted something special, so thank you for that.
There you go.
Just a quick, if I can have time, with Amen, for example, if I don't do a deep practice, but just like a lot of things, busy day,
Yeah, yeah.
and I just sit for like 5 minutes and just contemplate, let's say, about my business or something, and just
Yeah.
inhale. Would you just contemplate, let's say, something that you want to bring into your life, or something that you
Yeah.
want some work?
The
Let's
thing
say,
that I
like, I
would
just
say,
moved and my home and everything, my life is all kind of in a
even if it's not about something specific, amen is associated with light. So it's gonna just keep the manifestation of light. So yeah, it doesn't
or
matter.
always in the heart. Okay, perfect. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. And then stabilize it will be like at the end of the day, it'll just help me kind of calm down.
It will stabilize in times of a shift. Like if you're having a bad day, I don't know that it would do that.
Well, I am, like where I am in a big shift, in a like a life shift right now. And that's like it's an
Try it.
ongoing.
Try it. It might work, it might not. I'm not sure there.
I'll let you know. I'll try
Okay.
it because it
Perfect.
keeps talking to me. So I'll like let me ask Greg about it. All right. So Neroli and Majos. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
And then go ahead, Danelle, and then we have a handful of chat questions if we have time.
Hey, hey.
Hey Greg, I know I don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to let you know that the protocol that you had me do with the helichrysum and then the poplar blossom from last week was really helpful.
Oh, good.
Um, I was dealing with an Uncle Bob type of
Right.
teacher that
Right.
had screamed at me and kind of re-traumatized me in a way.
And how
Um,
does that feel now after doing the 1-2 with
You know, it when I can talk about it and I don't get like angry or sad or triggered. It's I feel like it's kind of put behind me now in the past. There's not a whole lot of emotion with it anymore.
maybe still do it for just a little while.
Okay,
Like maybe another week or something. Just
sure.
because sometimes you get to a good place and you're like, I'm good. And then a week goes by and you're like, but there's still
Yeah.
some there. Like just flush it
Yes.
all out. Like just
Yeah.
flush it
Okay.
all.
So like once a day.
Yeah, probably once. I mean, you're in a better place. So I would
Yeah.
say even if you just did it a little bit at night or something.
Yeah. Okay. I
And
can I can do that.
yeah, just for a little bit until, it's just not a thing.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just had a quick oil question.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about Ambrette?
Yeah, so Ambrette, it's very good for like phobias and things like this, which are,
Okay.
another way of saying a phobia really is it's like an expectation. Like I expect this to suck. I expect this to go bad. I expect this to cause me pain. I expect this to, whatever it might be. And then, that's one of the ones in the plant teachers, and I need to look at
Yeah, I've been going through those, and I like it.
real
I was
quick.
just wondering some background on it.
Plant teachers. Let's just look up what it says there, because I cannot remember. Yeah, so like it's the message from the intuitive mind is like support. And so you could say this a lot of different ways, but like I would say here the support is like when we're stuck in the intellect, we feel like we need to make something happen and it's all on us. And it's just like, if I don't do this, it's just always going to be this way. And really, the support is just coming from another part of yourself. The intuitive mind kind of comes in and goes, you know what? You're having a bad day. Step over there. Let me kind of go through and clean this up a little bit and let's see how we can do. You know what I mean? There's like this kind of internal support that's coming from a different part of your brain. And
Okay.
and the expectation that we're talking about, that is a very intellectual thing. That is actually even a biological thing. Your brain is constantly on lookout for like, let's avoid all the things that suck. Let's memorize them and avoid them at all costs, which means that it's constantly seeking it out.
Okay.
And so, everybody's brain does it. It's not like, oh, do I do it or not? It's like it does it. It's just to what degree. And so the Ambrette calms down the expectation of everything's going to suck or this situation is going to suck or,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay. And I just wanted to verify. So with the helichrysum and poplar, is it feet, Ming Men, back, heart, crown?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. And if you want, you could add do that and then do brain, spine, brain, soles of
Okay,
the, like go up and then go down.
go down again. Okay, sounds good. Will do. Thank you.
You're so happy. And we got to get over to the prayer petition blessing. So if you still have questions, email us, but we're going to jump over and just do a little quick meditation prayer thing. So join us if you can. It's a nice way to just have a little 15-minute thing where you jumpstart the upper centers. And we are going to be having the study group tomorrow. And then on the weekend, what class is the weekend?
This is the free weekend for the digestive, the
Right.
intestinal.
So free class on the weekend. So join us if you can.